Chapter 21. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Partial Rainstorm Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios, who knows who's the one eating steamed buns and drinking cold water? Are you jealous? So what? You can't do anything to me. Suyu realized that, at this moment, the guy who had been showing off in the communication channel had started to mock people again. F***ck, I'm so angry. How can there be such a despicable dog? F***ck, why isn't there an option to report? Are there any big shots here? Come out to punish this B*****. This bastard is definitely fishing using his lifespan. He'll probably die on the spot in the next second. At this moment, Suyu saw that in the communication channel, most of the survivors had started to scold that inhumane fellow. This was because this guy was completely rubbing salt into most people's wounds. Not only did he fish for a lot of supplies, but he also had to show off and mock others, as if he was afraid that others would not know that he had a lot of supplies. As for the top 10 on the regional prosperity points rankings, no one, including Suyu, was criticizing him in the communication channel. Although Suyu had seen the news, he only felt that the guy had nothing better to do. Suyu didn't have that much free time. If he had the time, he would rather fish for resources. At the same time, on another small island, a man with a feminine appearance and no masculine aura was looking at the bright screen in front of him with a cheap smile. That's right, this guy was the one who mocked people in the communication channel just now. TSK, a bunch of losers. After muttering to himself, he picked up his fishing rod and ran towards the shoreline. To be honest, this guy's skill was almost the same as a certain survivor's curse words. He really was fishing with his lifespan. Grade A skill, lifespan increases luck, skill description. Skill owners can consume their own lifespan to increase their luck temporarily. The minimum consumption for each usage is 3 days of lifespan. It can increase luck temporarily by 3 minutes. It was precisely because of this innate skill that this person could fish for so many resources. If not for the fact that he valued his life, with this initial skill, this person would definitely have a place in the top 10 of the regional rankings. At this moment, Suyu, who stopped paying attention to the communication channel, was commanding the 4 low-level goblins to pull the fishing net. 2. Ordinary wooden treasure chest, 8. Ordinary monster treasure chest. The treasure chest contained the following items. +1 island area fragment, ordinary energy crystals, 2 improved baits, glass steel, simple toilet, 50 liters of gasoline, 10 portions of fertile soil, 1 portion of roasted lamb, 50 kilograms of rice, and 50 portions of thorns. At this moment, Suyu, who was commanding the 4 goblins to pull the net, was scanning the information of the treasure chests floating in front of him. It's alright. Although he didn't get any stats potion this time, Suyu was quite satisfied. The appearance of the simple toilet finally resolved the awkwardness of facing the sea while doing his business. Among these things, the one that Suyu was most concerned about was the improved bait. So far, Suyu was still missing one material. Otherwise, Suyu would have been able to make the improved bait himself instead of pinning his hopes on the treasure chest to obtain one. Suyu had also searched for and tried to purchase materials on the trading channel, but there had been no news so far. Perhaps no survivor had been able to fish them up so far. To Suyu, only treasure chests of a higher star level could allow his island to develop faster. To be honest, if the other survivors saw the development speed of Suyu's island, they would probably feel numb. At this moment, in the center of Suyu's island, there was an exquisite European style wooden house. Beside the wooden house were 2 Toyota cars. As for the rest of the island, some areas were already filled with fruit trees and saplings. The remaining areas were completely covered in fertile soil. In addition, there were 4 low-level goblin slaves and many resources that were piled up until there was almost no place to store new resources. If it weren't for the fact that the island was still too small, Suyu would have been able to build the thorny fence with the blueprint. After all, Suyu had already accumulated all the building materials needed to build this thing. After casually using the island fragment, Suyu's island area increased by another 2 square meters, reaching the size of 117 square meters. In total, it was less than 11 by 11 square meters. This size was naturally not suitable for building a 10 by 10 thorn fence. In that case, Suyu would not be able to fish. Just as Suyu was about to go to the shoreline to search for traces of treasure chest, he heard a thunderous explosion in the sky. The sudden sound of thunder made Suyu's scalp tingle. After Suyu regained his senses, he looked up at the sky, only to find that the originally clear sky had suddenly darkened. Ding! Survivors, please note that heavy rain is about to descend. The probability of fishing for a high-star treasure chest after the rain will increase slightly for a period of time. F***ck, the weather is unpredictable. Suyu was depressed when he heard the notification. Quick! Cover those saplings with waterproof cloths. Glancing at the darkening sky, Suyu turned his head and ordered the 4 goblins. Then, he turned around and walked toward the small wooden house. Damn it, please don't be a gale. To be honest, Suyu was a little worried about the wind. After all, if a gale were to blow on the sea, it would be difficult to survive. After Suyu entered the small wooden house, he immediately clicked on the communication channel to see how many people were affected by the heavy rain. I'm going to die. It's going to rain heavily. I've only built a dilapidated straw hut. I'm worse off with only a few logs and a tarp. It's fine, it's fine. Didn't the notification say that the probability of fishing a high-star treasure chest would increase after the rain? That's right, that's right. If it rains, we can take a shower and store a lot of fresh water. Dude, are you stupid? Have you never considered the wind? Oh my god, I didn't expect that. Glancing a glance at the rapidly rolling messages in the communication channel, Suyu realized that many people were affected by the heavy rain this time. Master, everything is ready. Just as Suyu was browsing through the information, a few goblins appeared at the door of the small wooden house. Come in, all of you. Suyu glanced at the few goblins outside the door and did not let them stand outside. After all, they were all his labor force. If they fell sick, Suyu would suffer a huge loss. Upon hearing Suyu's words, the 4 goblins hurriedly squeezed into the small wooden house. Chapter 22. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The treasure chest that washed up on the island. Translator. Atlas Studios editor. Atlas Studios. Not long after the 4 goblins entered the wooden house, the sound of raindrops hitting the roof of the wooden house rang in Suyu's ears. Upon hearing the sound outside the house, Suyu heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, Suyu did not hear any howling wind. Logically speaking, heavy rain on the sea would definitely be accompanied by a strong wind. However, Suyu and the other newcomers were still under 7 days of novice protection, so the wind might have been dispersed by some force. At this moment, in the communication channel, many people were delighted. This rain feels good. I finally don't have to exchange food for fresh water anymore. Feel good my ass. My roasted meat is completely drenched by the rain. F***ck, it's you again. Serves you right. What a show. Perhaps even the heavens can't stand this bastard. How satisfying. To be honest, the rain did a good job. Good job my ass. What a bunch of idiots. After Suyu glanced at the messages in the communication channel, the corners of his eyes couldn't help but twitch. At this moment, Suyu couldn't help but feel that because he wasn't stupid enough, he couldn't fit in with the group of clowns in the communication channel. Suyu stood up and pushed open the window of the small wooden house and looked out. He saw that the rain outside the wooden house had caused bean-sized splashes when it landed on the ground. Fortunately, the small wooden house was not built by Suyu. Otherwise, such a heavy rain would definitely cause the roof to leak. The small wooden house, which had been built on its own with the blueprint, had perfectly blocked the heavy rain. As a result, a portion of the resources that Suyu had already obtained from opening the treasure chest were not soaked in the rain. As for the 4 goblins, they obediently curled up in a corner of the wooden house. 0. Damaged wooden treasure chest. Description: it contains some dried branches for burning. Suddenly, a message flashed before Suyu's eyes. When Suyu took a closer look, he discovered that there was a tattered wooden treasure chest at the shoreline. Could it be that the heavy rain will push up some treasure chests from under the sea? Seeing the damaged treasure chest, a question arose in Suyu's mind. As this thought flashed through Suyu's mind, he paid attention to the movements on the small island while paying attention to the information in the communication channel. Although the survivors in the communication channel could not provide Suyu with much useful information, Suyu could still deduce the general situation based on the messages sent by some survivors. Guys, were there any treasure chests washed up to your island? As expected, there were still many people who were willing to share information these days. As Suyu was paying attention to the messages in the communication channel, someone asked about this matter. F***ck, brother, what did you say? The treasure chests can actually be washed up to the island. That's right. Just as I was putting on a tarp to block the rain, I suddenly realized that a treasure chest had been washed up to my island. F***ck, don't stop me. Today, I'll either use the coffin to store me or the coffin to store the treasure chests. Someone with yellow pea, come wake this daydreamer up. Make sure not to have diabetes, though. I'm afraid the previous poster will taste the sweetness. Damn, you're so mean. At this moment, Suyu looked at the nearby sea and thoughtfully said, as expected, with this heavy rain, some treasure chests will be washed up to the island. I wonder which star-level wooden treasure chests will wash up. Does this count as giving a wave of benefits to those survivors who are about to die? At this moment, the idea popped up in Suyu's mind. Suyu shook his head and perished these thoughts. Then, he closed the window and sat down. As soon as Suyu sat down, the observant goblins immediately brought Suyu a plate of fruits. Suyu, who had taken a peach from the fruit platter, casually said, "All right, take it and divide it among yourselves." "Thank you, master." "Thank you, master." The few goblins who had been rewarded by Suyu immediately became happy. After all, these low-level goblins were very happy to be able to get food. If Wang Teng, who was also hiding in the small wooden house to avoid the rain, were to see Suyu's relaxed attitude, he would definitely sell his servant A in a matter of minutes. A, go and fetch the treasure chests outside. When he saw the treasure chests being washed up on his island, he instructed A. Ding. Your servant A has sensed your disregard towards him. Loyalty point 5. When he finished speaking, A, who was taking shelter in the wooden house to avoid the rain, looked at the pouring rain outside. He was extremely unwilling. F***ck, I must have found a master instead. When he heard that A's loyalty points were dropping again, he couldn't hold it in anymore. Previously, Wang Ting treated A with good food and drinks and finally stabilized his loyalty at around 70 points. Now, it was dropping again. This D***MN thing hasn't done anything until now. He's only adjusting the loyalty points back and forth. He's clearly playing me for a fool. To be honest, he was already full of anger. Hence, a thought appeared in his mind. Ding. Survivor Wang Teng would like to DM you. Do you want to accept the DM? At this moment, Suyu, who was leisurely eating peaches, suddenly heard a DM notification. What did this dude get this time? Hearing that it was another DM request from Wang Teng, Suyu was slightly interested. Is the big shot here? Do you want anything good? It's free labor. At this moment, he was thinking that he might as well sell him for some resources. Otherwise, he would be angered to death by this guy. Labor force. Are you the guy who opened that treasure chest earlier? After seeing Wang Ting's message, a thought flashed through Su Yu's mind. Boss, your deduction is so accurate. That's right, it's me. How about it? Do you want to trade for free labor? He can farm and do physical work. He was working very hard to promote A. No, why would I want a guy with a loyalty of 60 to come here? I have enough labor forces on my island. You can keep yours for yourself. When Su Yu saw Wang Ting trying his best to promote his wares, he refused to fall for his tricks. Chapter 23. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Showing off again. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios, F***CK, I've been seen through. His heart was pounding when he saw the reply. Fortunately, Wang Ting was thick-skinned. Hence, Wang Ting replied to Su Yu, if you don't want it, I'll keep it for myself. I'll contact you if I have anything good next time. After sending the message, he looked at A. He was now having a headache. He felt like dying after meeting such a useless servant. Should I think of a way to do away with this fellow? This kind of thought popped up in his mind. Compared to having this kind of slave with whom he still needed to gradually nurture loyalty with, he would rather develop by himself wretchedly. Moreover, after some exploration, he discovered that with A's current loyalty, he could command him to do some ordinary work. However, if he asked A to risk his life, A's loyalty would definitely drop. F***CK. The more he thought about it, the more depressed he felt. He couldn't help but curse. What's wrong, my lord? What happened? The commotion caused by Wang Ting instantly attracted A's attention. I'm fine, I'm fine. Wang Ting laughed and casually reassured A. Then, he turned to look at the pouring rain outside the window. No one knew what he was thinking. When Su Yu saw Wang Ting's reply, he was speechless. How much of a pitfall is this servant with a loyalty point of 60? He can't even wait to get rid of him. From a few simple sentences, Su Yu deduced that it must be because the initial loyalty of a servant with 60 loyalty points was very limited, so Wang Ting probably couldn't take it anymore. Su Yu did not take this matter to heart. He casually opened the window of the small wooden house and looked out. Information prompts quickly flashed before Su Yu's eyes. 0. Damaged wooden treasure chest. Description. It contains a broken iron pot. Ordinary wooden treasure chest. Description. It contains 5 pieces of wood. Ordinary wooden treasure chest. Description. It contains 1 roll of sandpaper. At this moment, Su Yu discovered that there were 8 more treasure chests on the island. Among them, there were at most 5 wooden treasure chests, and the remaining 3 were all broken, 0. Wooden treasure chests. From the looks of it, the highest grade treasure chest that has been washed up by the waves is the wooden treasure chest. Looking at the treasure chest at the shoreline, which was constantly being pushed back into the sea by the waves, Su Yu fell into deep thought. Fortunately, the seawater was controlled by an unknown force. When it washed over the island, it only reached the edge of the island. It did not affect the central area where Su Yu was. Otherwise, Su Yu would not be in the mood to look at the sea leisurely. Instead, he would have to think of a way to prevent himself from being washed off the island by the waves. Su Yu glanced at the treasure chests on the island. He didn't pay much attention to them. After all, there were only wooden treasure chests at most. Even if all of them were washed back to the sea, it would mean nothing to Su Yu. Compared to Su Yu, who was rich and overbearing, the other ordinary survivors were taking the risk of being washed into the sea by the waves. Every time they saw a treasure chest being washed to the edge of the island, they would carefully brave the heavy rain and pick it up. Whether it was a damaged wooden treasure chest or an ordinary wooden treasure chest, they did not miss a single one. In the end, the heavy rain lasted for about half an hour before it cleared. After the heavy rain, Suyu didn't waste any time and immediately rushed out of the small wooden house. He ignored the low-grade wooden treasure chests scattered at the shoreline. At this moment, Suyu's eyes were fixed on the sea. There are traces of wooden treasure chest in this part of the sea. You can choose to use the improved bait to fish or change fishing spots. As expected, the chances of fishing high-grade treasure chests increased. After casually scanning the sea surface and seeing the information from his insight skill, Suyu could not help but feel excited. He was as excited as if he knew that there was a big fish in this place. However, wooden treasure chests were obviously not enough to satisfy Suyu. As such, Suyu changed his position and began to scan for treasure chests again. There are traces of wooden treasure chest 5 meters below the surface of the sea. You are recommended to fish here. After looking around, Suyu finally found another fishing spot. He skillfully hooked the improved bait and threw it out. Then, he began to wait for the treasure chest to take the bait. At the same time, in the regional communication channel, many people were sharing the benefits brought by the heavy rain. Guys, our luck has turned. Just now, when it was raining heavily, I risked my life to pick up 5 wooden treasure chests. Then, when the rain stopped, I found rice and some vegetables inside. Now, I can finally survive for a few more days. Nav om f*ck, I risked my life and obtained a deflated doll. What the f*ck is that? Can't you give me a better one? Ha ha ha, a furong wong was in the treasure chest. I picked up one. I can finally smoke a cigarette to relieve my smoking addiction. f*ck, I only picked up 4. Damn it, 3 of them are broken wooden treasure chests. They're filled with junk. Are you all so miserable? I've already picked up more than 10 treasure chests. Moreover, the lowest is a wooden treasure chest. There are also 3 wooden treasure chests. The resources are abundant. f*ck, it's that b** starred again. Why isn't he dead yet? Good people don't live long, but evil people live for 1,000 years. There is a special place in hell for this bastard. To be honest, is this guy telling the truth? Why is his luck so good every time? Could his skill be related to luck? Meanwhile, in the communication channel, Feng Xiaokong, who had shown off again, was excitedly opening treasure chests on his island. When he discovered that the waves would wash some treasure chests to the shore, Feng Xiaokong decisively chose to use his skill of decreasing his lifespan to increase his temporary luck. The heavy rain lasted for about half an hour, so Feng Xiaokong used up about 30 days of his lifespan. It had to be said that although this guy was despicable, he still knew how to seize opportunities. If he was just fishing with a fishing rod, it would be too unreliable to use his lifespan to increase his luck. Therefore, Feng Xiaokong was very stingy and cautious when he used it. He was afraid that his lifespan would be exhausted and he would die. This was because Feng Xiaokong had a genetic disease. The doctor had concluded that he would not live past 35 years old. Moreover, after fishing, Feng Xiaokong realized that the luck enhancement effect was a little unreliable. It did not mean that a treasure chest would immediately take the bait as soon as his luck increased. There was an uncertain timing in between. The luck enhancement only increased his chances of fishing for the high-grade treasure chest. This was normal. After all, Feng Xiaokong's skill was only grade A. It was not to the level of defying natural order that he could just go out and pick up treasures. In addition, this guy did not dare to consume his lifespan greatly. Therefore, the items he fished in the early stages was only slightly better than ordinary survivors. Chapter 24. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. How depressing. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. As for Suyu, he was still nervously looking at the sea. It's here. After seeing the float sink into the water, Suyu grabbed the fishing rod tightly. Ordinary wooden treasure chest, description. It contains an island area plus 10 square meters fragment. Fishing technique. Pull at a uniform speed in the beginning. When you feel that the resistance of the treasure chest is weakening, pull quickly. Plus 10 square meters island area fragment, description. Used to increase the user's own island area by 10 square meters. Good stuff. After the treasure chest took the bait, Suyu could not help but feel happy when he saw the description information floating in front of him. After all, Suyu had the doubled happiness skill. After he caught the treasure chest, it could increase the size of Suyu's island by 20 square meters. How could Suyu not be happy? Soon, half an hour had passed. After Suyu's back and forth, the treasure chest was almost worn out. Then, Suyu suddenly exerted strength and dragged it to the island. Suyu, who already knew what it was, naturally wouldn't pray to the gods and Buddhas that he would get something good before opening the treasure chest. As this thought flashed through Suyu's mind, 2 pieces of the plus 10 square meters island area fragment suddenly appeared in front of him. Upon seeing this, Suyu immediately chose to use it. In an instant, the 2 fragments fused into the island that Suyu was on. This time, Suyu could clearly see that the island had grown by 1 circle. The total area of Suyu's island had also reached 137 square meters, which was about 1/3 larger than the initial 100 square meters. 137 square meters, its length and width seems to be only 11.7 by 11.7. It still seems to be a little too cramped to start to build the thorn fence. Suyu estimated the length and width of the island in his heart, and had no choice but to postpone building the thorn fence. Ding! Survivor Ji Chingru would like to DM you. Do you want to accept the DM? Just as Suyu was about to continue fishing, a sound suddenly rang in his ears, interrupting his plan. The girl from before, could it be that she wants to trade again? After thinking about it, Suyu decided to approve the DM request. After all, Suyu had the time to spare. Mr. Su, I want to trade a plus 1 square meter of island fragment for the information on how to use glass steel, PE braided thread, and carbon cloth. What do you think? At this moment, Ji Chingru, who was holding 2 plus 1 square meter of island fragments on her own island, directly proposed the terms of the trade to Suyu. As the 4th on the regional prosperity points rankings, Ji Chingru naturally obtained a plus 1 square meter of island fragment from the treasure chest. However, she did not use it directly. At this moment, the other piece in Ji Chingru's hand was the one she had obtained from the wooden treasure chest. Therefore, Ji Chingru naturally knew the value of this fragment. Trading a plus 1 square island fragment for the information on how to use glass steel, PE braided thread, and carbon cloth. Could it be that this woman has once again gathered enough materials to upgrade the fishing rod? To be honest, when Suyu saw the message from Ji Chingru, this thought suddenly appeared in his mind. After pondering for a while, Suyu directly replied to Ji Chingru, 2 fragments and an ordinary energy crystal. I'll tell you the use of these materials. In addition, I'll give you something to be used together with these materials. At this moment, Ji Chingru was staring at the DM interface. She saw the message sent by Suyu and couldn't help but frown. This was because the island fragments were fine, but Ji Chingru couldn't bear to part with the ordinary energy crystal. After all, one of these things was equivalent to 30 ordinary baits. Up until now, with her innate skill, Ji Chingru had only accumulated 2 ordinary energy crystals. However, Ji Chingru's intuition told her that trading with Suyu would be more beneficial for her future development. After thinking of this, Ji Chingru did not hesitate and directly sent a message to Suyu. Mr. Su, please put the item on the trading channel. I will bid for it directly. After reading the girl's reply, Suyu immediately wrote a trade offer and posted it on the trading channel. Items to trade. Blueprint. Items in exchange. Plus 2 square meter of island fragment, 1 ordinary energy crystal. As soon as Suyu posted the trade offer, Ji Qingru immediately filtered her search and bid for the items Suyu had posted. After extracting the items, Ji Qingru held the upgrade blueprint of the fishing rod in her hands and immediately understood what the 3 items were for. Thank you, Mr. Su. I will contact you again if I need anything. Ji Qingru sent Suyu a thank you message. She then immediately placed the blueprint and the 3 items beside the beginner's fishing rod. Then, she quietly chose to use the blueprint. At this moment, after Suyu saw the reply from Ji Qingru, he did not reply to her. Instead, he directly used the 2+1 island fragments. The ordinary fishing rod blueprint was useless in Suyu's hands. He might as well exchange it for some resources. Suyu estimated that this item would only have some value in the early stages. After all, Suyu had obtained this blueprint from a mere wooden treasure chest. Moreover, it had been a day and a half since he had entered this world. Those who were lucky might have already obtained it. Suyu was not at all worried that after trading the blueprint away, he would be pushed down from the first place because other survivors had also upgraded their fishing rods. This was because the fishing rod did not play such a big role. Most of those who had strength were able to reach such a level due to their innate skill. Suyu understood this. Ordinary wooden treasure chests are piled up in this part of the sea. You are recommended to cast a fishing net here. At this moment, Suyu, who had casually used 2 fragments, began to get busy again. After looking at the surface of the sea, Suyu immediately hung up the bait and threw the net. Then, he instructed the 2 goblins to keep an eye on the rope. There are groups of wood treasure chests in this part of the sea. You are not recommended to cast the fishing net here. You are recommended to change positions. Suyu, who had just cast the net and shifted his position, glanced at the sea not far away and immediately looked away. There are traces of black iron treasure chest 8 meters below the surface of the sea. You are recommended to fish here. F***CK. When Suyu saw this message, he was very depressed. He couldn't catch this thing, his equipment couldn't keep up. This was because using an ordinary fishing rod to pull a black iron treasure chest was definitely a terrible move. Furthermore, Suyu didn't have any bait to fish for the black iron treasure chest. Hence, he could only look at this spot wistfully and change his direction. There are traces of wooden treasure chest 5 meters below the surface of the sea. You are recommended to fish here. Chapter 25. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Big bottle version of the 3.p stats potions. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios, go. After locking onto this area, Suyu cast out his hook. At the same time, after Ji Qingru had obtained the blueprint to upgrade into ordinary fishing rod from Suyu, she also completed the upgrade of the newbie fishing rod. At this moment, Ji Qingru also had an improved bait in her hand, so she was wondering if she should use this enhanced version. After thinking about it carefully, Ji Qingru decided to trust her innate skill. In the end, based on her 6 senses, Ji Qingru also locked onto the area that gave her the strongest feeling. Then, she baited the hook without hesitation. As for Suyu, he was staring at the sea with great patience. After all, compared to the ordinary survivors who were still struggling to obtain the wooden treasure chest, Suyu had already opened several wooden treasure chests. Wooden treasure chest, description. It contains 1 bottle of strength stats potion, 1 bottle of physique stats potion, and 1 bottle of spirit stats potion. 100 milliliters each bottle. Fishing technique. Pull in a roundabout way, pull slowly and quickly. Strength physique spirit potion, 100 milliliters, description. Consuming it can permanently increase basic strength, physique, and spirit stats. Note. This potion will not be effective on the user with basic spirit stats that are greater than 5. A big bottle version of 3-piece basic stats potion. This thought popped up in Su Yu's mind as he glanced at the notification floating in front of him. Be Nov calm, this is good stuff. With the double happiness skill, it can definitely increase my strength, physique, and spirit by 2 points. After Su Yu regained his senses, he began to pull carefully. Unknowingly, time quickly passed. When Su Yu carefully dragged the treasure chest under the sea to the island and looked at the sky, it was already afternoon. Growl. Forget it, let's eat first. Just as Su Yu was about to open the treasure chest, he suddenly stretched out his hand and rubbed his rumbling stomach. It turned out that he was too engrossed in fishing and had not even eaten lunch. Therefore, Su Yu carried the treasure chest and directly walked to the side of the small wooden house. After finding a place to sit down, Su Yu directly instructed the goblins to bring out the roasted whole sheep. Soon, the 2 goblins brought out the roasted lamb that was already cold. This roasted whole lamb was also obtained by Su Yu from the treasure chest. However, Su Yu was not hungry at that time, so he did not eat it. Now, he could still eat it after heating it with fire. Su Yu didn't need to do these trivial things himself. The 2 goblins quickly started a fire, then quickly put the roasted lamb on the rack and heated it up. After heating it for about 7 to 8 minutes, Su Yu cut off a big lamb leg with a knife and bit down. As soon as the mutton entered Su Yu's mouth, he could only feel a sense of happiness. When the goblins at the side saw their master's appearance, they could not help but swallow their saliva. However, without Su Yu's instructions, they did not dare to reach out and eat the mutton. Glancing at the goblins, Su Yu swallowed the mutton in his mouth with difficulty and said casually, "All right, you can split the rest. Consider it your lunch and dinner. Thank you for your reward, master." Upon hearing Su Yu's words, the goblins immediately became happy. Then, the 4 goblins then carried the roasted whole lamb and slipped away to a place a little further away, in case their eating style displeased their master. Su Yu was still munching on the lamb leg. He didn't feel any heartache. He had a lot of food now, and he couldn't finish all the roasted lamb alone. If he left it until dinner time, it also wouldn't taste delicious anymore. He might as well give it to the goblins. After all, the menial and hard chores on the island had to be done by these guys. Although the goblins were a little ugly, they still worked very hard. Otherwise, Su Yu would not have raised them. Burp. After finishing the roasted lamb leg and drinking a bottle of beverage, Su Yu couldn't help but burp. After stretching his body, Su Yu took the treasure chest and sat down on the massage chair. Although the massage chair was not connected to electricity, he could still use it to sit like an ordinary chair. With Su Yu's thoughts, and under the enhancement of Su Yu's double happiness skill, a total of 6 bottles of 100 ml stats potions fell to Su Yu's arms. At this moment, Su Yu was not so brave that he dared to drink all 6 bottles at once. The medicinal effect of these potions were several times stronger than what he had experienced previously. After thinking for a while, Su Yu decided to drink 1 bottle at a time. So, after pulling out a stopper, Su Yu started drinking. As soon as the medicine entered his stomach, an intense feeling swept through Su Yu's entire body, causing his body to tremble unconsciously. After about half an hour, the medicinal effect in Su Yu's body finally subsided completely. Phew! Su Yu let out a heavy breath. Without any hesitation, he downed the 2nd bottle. Just like that, 3 hours passed. Su Yu had finally consumed all 6 bottles of stats potion. At this moment, Su Yu, who was drenched in sweat, felt an unprecedented sense of pleasure. At this moment, Su Yu felt as if he could kill a tiger with 1 punch. Thinking of this, Su Yu pulled out his personal stats panel. Level 1 Island Master, Island Area 139 square meters. Name: Su Yu. Age: 23 years old. Strength: 3.8 plus, 1.39, physique. 3.8 plus, 1.39, spirit. 4.3 plus, 1.39, own slaves. For low-level goblins, plus 20 island prosperity points, note. In parentheses are the stats added to the island master on his own island. The additional stats will not be effective after leaving his island. Island prosperity points. 120 points, regional ranking 1, 10 points for wooden houses, 20 points for goblins, 15 points for saplings, 20 points for fertile soil, 10 points for man-eating flowers. Skills. SSS grade insight skill, unknown grade skill, double happiness, can be upgraded. Regional communication channel, regional trading channel, regional prosperity points list. After glancing at his personal stats panel, Suyu discovered that his current strength, physique, and spirit had all broken through the level of 5 after adding the additional stats given on his own island. However, Suyu was still unable to estimate how strong he was. Fortunately, there was another method Suyu could use to estimate his current strength. At the thought of this, Suyu looked at the few goblins. Low-level goblin, identity. Slave loyalty. 100, unable to betray its master, strength. 1, physique. Spirit. 1, skills. Basic construction. Description. The cheapest labor force that can survive with a small amount of food. It has been implanted with the ability to speak in the common language. Combat strength analysis between two sides. The three-dimensional stats of the two are quite different. When both sides are unarmed, you can fight 30 of them all by yourself. Chapter 26. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. There are monsters under the sea. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios, not bad, not bad. I've finally left the ranks of people with very poor fighting skills. The next time I encounter a monster treasure chest that contains a goblin, I'll just go up and kill it. Suyu couldn't help but feel a little excited when he saw the combat strength analysis from the insight skill. After all, who wouldn't want to be stronger? Ding! Survivors, please note that night is about to fall. At nightfall, the temperature will continue to drop. Please be careful to keep warm. So fast. Just as Suyu was about to continue fishing, he suddenly heard a mechanical sound beside his ear. When he reacted, Suyu quickly glanced at the sky. Then, Suyu realized that the sky was actually darkening at a speed visible to the naked eye. F***ck, I used so much time taking 6 bottles of potions. Suyu pointed his middle finger at the sky and immediately rushed into the wooden house, putting on his special cold-resistant suit. After Suyu walked out of the wooden house, he immediately set up the solar lamp. That's right, Suyu was preparing to fish at night. At this moment, his basic spirit stats had reached more than 4 points. Suyu was very energetic and did not feel sleepy at all. Ednel.co coupled with the great increase in his strength and physique, Suyu did not feel too tired from fishing today. Therefore, Suyu planned to fish at night tonight. However, before the night fishing, Suyu clicked into the communication channel as usual to see if there was any new information. It's cold. The F***king temperature is starting to drop again. Fishing people, fishing souls, and fishing are all superior. Everyone, take out your fishing spirit to fish for treasure chests. Let's fish at night. Fish your head. I don't even have any baits left, how do I fish? If I hadn't picked up some resources from the heavy rain today, I would have starved to death. Let's not bring that up anymore. My underwear is still wet. To be honest, after the rain, the probability of fishing for better treasure chests has increased a little. I used the remaining 2 sets of bait in my hand and actually caught a wooden treasure chest. F***ck, I almost got dragged down by the treasure chest today. If I didn't let go quickly, I would have died. You let go. What about your fishing rod? F***ck, brother, you're awesome. You don't even want the fishing rod anymore. After scanning through the information in the communication channel, Suyu realized that most people were still in a relatively energetic state. This situation was normal. After all, everyone's island was only so big. It was not an uninhabited deserted island filled with dense forest. There was no need to worry about snakes, insects, rats, and ants. Basically, in the first few days, as long as one was not too stupid, they could usually pass through the 7-day newcomers protection period. As for what would happen after 7 days, it was unknown. Why did so many people communicate with each other every day? It was more of a spiritual sustenance. It made them feel like they were not alone. At the same time, most of the survivors were still complaining about the speed at which Suyu's island's prosperity points increased. F***ck, what kind of god is this big shot who ranked first on the prosperity points rankings? The prosperity points of his island are rising like a rocket. It wasn't easy for me to build a straw hut, but I only earned 1 prosperity point. I'm about to cry. According to my deduction, the big shot is definitely cheating. TSK, you must have read too many novels. Is there a lack of people sucking up to the number 1 big shot? It's cute and sweet. I really want to know what kind of life the big shot is living now. Ah, it's so lively. Hiss, this peach is so cold. F***ck off, damn you. TSK, these guys sure have an amazing imagination. Suyu couldn't help but rub his chin as he thought to himself. Of course, Suyu had no intention of explaining himself to these people. Anyway, as long as Suyu himself did not say anything, no one would know of his skill. I, a reincarnated person, need 100 sets of ordinary bait as a starting resource to open the treasures I know. Everyone can raise funds for me. After I obtain the treasures, I'll return them to everyone 100-fold. Just as Suyu was pondering, there was actually someone who started to use the guise of a reincarnated person to deceive people in the communication channel. I'm Qin Shi Huang 1. Actually, I'm not dead. I've always been in the Emperor's tomb and lived until this transmigration. Everyone, you can give me the bait. I'll definitely ensure that you survive the calamity. I'm Yuhua 1. I'm starving. If anyone brings me food, I'll make you a girlfriend. Good Lord, the first person to take the lead of scamming in the communication channel was immediately replied with a long string of messages. F***ck, is this a scammer company that has collectively crossed into this region? Now, because there's no bait, they're starting to do their old job again. Looking at the constantly refreshing news, Suyu could not help but feel a headache coming on. As for now, the guy who took the lead in posting the scam message was a little annoyed. F***ck, did these people download the anti-deception app before they transmigrated? They didn't fall for it. To be honest, this person felt that 10 messages a day restricted him. Otherwise, he felt that with his glib tongue, he could definitely deceive some people. Just like before he transmigrated, he lied to those who believed that tens of thousands would return 10.4 million yuan. Good Lord, it turned out that it was a leader of a pyramid scheme organization. Guys, don't be fooled. The people who sent these messages are all trying to cheat you of the remaining bait in your hands. Just ignore them. At this moment, there were still people who couldn't stand it and spoke directly in the communication channel. At this moment, Suyu had already casually made some food. After finishing it quickly, he walked quickly to the shoreline. At this moment, the solar lamp that Suyu had set up and the lights of the 2 Toyota sedans lit up the entire island. However, compared to the visibility during the day, it was definitely much worse. At this moment, Suyu could only use the light to scan the sea surface that was very close to the island. If he went any further, his insight skill would not give him any feedback. There's a small monster in this part of the sea. Please pay attention to your safety. Upon seeing this notification, Su Yu's brows furrowed fiercely. There was actually a monster under the sea. To be honest, Su Yu had fished for 2 days in the vicinity of his island, but he did not find any living creatures in the water, except for the goblins that were inside the treasure chest. But now, Su Yu had discovered that there were living creatures under the water. How could Su Yu not be concerned? Suddenly, the sound of water splashing attracted Su Yu's attention. With the help of the light, Su Yu caught a glimpse of the figure of the creature that came out of the water. Chapter 27. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sea Monkey Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios, Sea Monkey, Strength. 3, Physique. 3, Spirit. Description. Great strength, weak sense of pain, difficult to die if the bullet doesn't hit the fatal spot. After the 7-day protection period, it is one of the monsters that newbie survivors might encounter. Due to the island's protection, they won't attack the island for 7 days, but they might appear around the island. It is recommended not to seek death and dive in the water. Combat strength analysis between 2 sides. You can win on land, but you will easily be exhausted to death by the other party underwater. Don't tell me that the guy in the communication channel who was brave enough to dive encountered this thing. At this moment Su Yu caught a glimpse of the monster who had dived back into the water. Naturally, he had seen through the monster's information with his insight skill. However, Su Yu did not panic. After all, a large part of the reason why humans were panicking was because of the unknown. When all the information was placed in front of them, many people could quickly accept it. As many thoughts flashed through Su Yu's mind, he quickly surveyed his surroundings. The area of the sea that the light could reach did show any traces of the sea monkey. Could it be that he's dived deep inside and the insight skill can't sense anything? After standing on the spot and thinking about it, Su Yu was too lazy to think too much about it. After all, the insight talent had already hinted that even if the damn thing wanted to attack the island, it would have to wait until the newbie's protection period was over. There was no point in thinking too much about it now. It was better to fish for more items to increase his strength. As such, the ambitious Su Yu began to search for a suitable fishing spot. There are traces of treasure chest activity in this part of the sea. I suggest fishing here. After looking around, Su Yu shifted his position and locked onto a fishing spot. He skillfully baited the hook with an improved bait and threw it out. Next, he entered the boring waiting stage. He didn't know if it was because he didn't know how to fish at night, or if there was a hidden buff or something else. Originally, Su Yu was prepared to wait for more than 10 to 20 minutes for the treasure chest underwater to take the bait. However, in less than 3 minutes, Su Yu saw the float sink. Ordinary wooden treasure chest. Description. It contains 100 forged Yenling saber. Fishing technique. Pull in a roundabout way, loosening and tightening. 100 forged Yenling saber. Description. Forged from 100 forged black iron. It can cut iron like mud and is extremely sharp. Details. The blade is 118 centimeters long and 3.5 centimeters wide. Its characteristics are that the blade is straight, with a quarter of the tip of the blade having a radian and a reverse edge. It's a melee weapon. After reading the notification that floated in front of him, a thought popped up in Su Yu's mind. With the help from the instructions from the insight skill, it did not take long for Su Yu to drag the treasure chest from under the water to the shore. After all, Su Yu's physique and strength had been greatly enhanced, so it was much easier to fish for treasure chests. As soon as the treasure chest reached the shore, Su Yu could not wait to open the treasure chest. In an instant, under the effect of the double happiness skill, 200 forged Yenling sabers were pierced into the ground in front of Su Yu. At this moment, the 100 forged Yenling sabers that were pierced through the ground flashed with a cold light, proving that it was incomparably sharp. Reaching out to grab the handle of the saber, Su Yu drew his saber and casually swung it down. Immediately, Suyu discovered that this saber was extremely handy, be it in terms of weight or other aspects. In fact, if it was an ordinary survivor, they would not be able to unleash much power because their strength and physique could not keep up. After waving it a few times, they would be exhausted. Suyu's own physique and strength were sufficient enough for him to use the 100-forged Yenling saber smoothly. That was why he felt that it was extremely convenient. If it was before Suyu's stats increased, his situation would probably be no different from other survivors. With the sharpness of this blade, it's enough to cut off the sea monkey's head. Suyu stretched out his hand and lightly flicked the blade, using the water monkey as a reference. First, a moment of silence for the sea monkey that had its eyes on Suyu's island. At this moment, Suyu held the 100-forged Yenling saber in his hand and started wielding it without any pattern. After hacking at the void for more than 10 times, Suyu casually put the 100-forged Yenling saber back into its scabbard. With Suyu's current strength and physique, if the sea monkey dared to set foot on the island, it would definitely be hacked to death. Although Suyu had never systematically practiced his saber techniques, he could still randomly swing it around one. In terms of strength and speed, it would be difficult for a creature like the water monkey, whose basic stats were lower than Suyu's, to dodge his attacks at this moment. Suyu, who had a good start, started strolling along the shoreline. Treasure chests have gathered in this part of the sea. You are recommended to cast the fishing net here. Bring me the fishing net. After finding a spot to cast the net, Suyu shouted at the goblins. Upon hearing Suyu's shout, the goblins immediately picked up the fishing net and rushed over. Suyu reached out and took the simple fishing net from the goblins. Then, he skillfully hung 10 portions of ordinary bait and threw the fishing net out. It had to be said that this simple fishing net was an early-stage novice divine artifact for someone like Suyu, who had a ridiculous amount of ordinary bait. After tying up the fishing net to a stake, Suyu found another spot to cast the other fishing net and threw it out. On the other side, Wang Teng, who also hadn't slept yet and had chosen to fish at night like Suyu, was scared out of his wits. He had just picked up the 2 large flashlights from the treasure chest he had fished up earlier in the day. In the next second, just as he was about to release his bladder into the sea, a black figure suddenly appeared on the surface of the sea not far away from him. This scared him so much that he trembled and almost wet his hands. A few seconds later, when he came back to his senses, Wang Ting quickly took a few steps back. Then, he quickly pulled up his pants and looked at the sea nervously. *CK, there can't be sea ghosts, right? When he thought of the Forbidden Women 1 and sea ghosts from those horror novels, he couldn't help but swallow hard to relieve the pressure in his heart. *CK, I'm not hallucinating, right? He pinched his thigh hard. In the next second, he gasped in pain. Oh my God, there really are monsters in the sea. Chapter 28. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Use of ordinary energy crystals, announced translator. Atlas Studios editor. Atlas Studios. When he thought of this, he immediately clicked on the communication channel. He wanted to ask the others if they knew about this. *CK, have any of you seen monsters in the sea? Because Wang Ting happened to be ranked 10th on the island's prosperity points rankings, so many people noticed his message. What do you mean there are monsters in the sea? Boss, what kind of monster did you see? Please tell me, *CK, could it be that the brother who dared to dive from before encountered a monster? It's very likely. Before that brother could finish his words, he never appeared again. *CK, there's a monster. It can't be a forbidden woman, right? I read in those tomb raiding novels that there's such a thing in the sea. Why don't you say it's a sea monkey? In the communication channel, many survivors who had yet to sleep were blasted out because of his words. Then, they expressed their opinions in the communication channel. At this moment, when Wang Teng saw that no one in the communication channel knew about this situation, he sent another DM to Suyu. Boss, save me. I'm going to die. There are monsters in the sea. Ding. Survivor Wang Teng would like to DM you. Do you want to accept the DM? Su Yu was busy fishing when he heard Wang Teng's DM request notification. Could this guy have seen the sea monkey as well? Su Yu, who was not paying attention to the communication channel, suddenly thought. Accept. Su Yu, who had a speculation in his heart, directly chose to accept the DM. The moment Su Yu accepted Wang Teng's DM request, the message Wang Teng sent appeared before Su Yu's eyes. It's really possible that he had seen the sea monkey. From the message sent by Wang Teng, Su Yu realized that his speculation was not wrong. Su Yu didn't know if it was because his spirit stats had improved a lot, but he felt that his reasoning ability had improved a lot. He could now figure out things that he couldn't figure out in the past just by simply thinking about it. Say something if you're not dead. Tell me what you saw. If you're dead, forget it. You don't have to visit me in my dreams. After thinking for a while, Su Yu sent a message back to Wang Teng. After all, Su Yu had not used up the number of times he had sent messages today. At this moment, Wang Teng was paying attention to the movements on the surface of the sea while paying attention to the DM interface. When he saw Su Yu's reply, a few black lines flashed across his forehead. However, in the next second, Wang Teng immediately replied to Su Yu. Boss, I'm still alive. As for the monster that appeared in the sea, I only saw that it had scales on its body and had a humanoid shape. I'm not sure about the rest. Wang Teng was quite smart. After discovering that he couldn't obtain any information about the monster in the communication channel, he immediately realized that ordinary survivors might not have seen this monster before, but the big shot on the rankings might have. At this moment, Su Yu saw Wang Teng's DM. After thinking for a while, he casually replied, I'll exchange it for a normal energy crystal. I'll tell you some information. Robbery. Seeing Su Yu's reply, Wang Teng couldn't help but twitch. In the past 2 days, the information regarding the usage of ordinary energy crystals hadn't spread. Wang Teng had also used the information he bought from Su Yu to become a second-hand seller a few times. However, he couldn't afford to use an ordinary energy crystal to exchange information each and every time. Boss, can you make it cheaper? I can't afford it. After thinking about it, he started crying about being poor again. In the end, after Su Yu saw Wang Teng's message, he was too lazy to reply to him. On the other side, Wang Teng waited bitterly. After 4 to 5 minutes, he still didn't receive a reply from the big shot. He finally realized that the big shot didn't want to talk to him. Instantly, he felt a headache coming on. Wasn't this too difficult for him? Wasn't he just bargaining? Why was he being ignored? In the end, Wang Teng still couldn't bear to exchange an ordinary energy crystal for information. However, in order to avoid offending Su Yu, he sent another message back to Su Yu. Boss, when I become a tycoon, I'll exchange with you. Su Yu's eyelids twitched slightly as he saw the message. Then, he continued fishing. At the same time, in the communication channel, before the discussion about the monsters in the sea could reach any worthwhile resolution, another matter attracted the attention of most survivors. Brothers and sisters, let me tell you a piece of good news. I know what ordinary energy crystals are used for. With this item and some flour, it can be used to make ordinary bait. You can make 30 ordinary baits with 1 ordinary energy crystal with 300 grams of flour. F***ck, is this for real? A good person lives a peaceful life. No wonder the big shot on the rankings bought this thing. Look at others' thought patterns. Then look at some people. They knew the use of this thing from the very start but they didn't say anything. Bro, why are you barking like a dog? I've never seen you share any news, silly bird. Even if the heavens didn't give birth to a keyboard warrior to constantly spew out **t like him, he would only have a mouth. Perhaps after the novice's protection period ends in 7 days, when he dies, his entire body will be soft. Only his head will still be hard. Haha. At this moment, the news that someone had exposed in the communication channel suddenly started to stir up some people. Many people directly pointed their fingers at Suyu. After all, Suyu had been firmly occupying the first place on the rankings. Other survivors could not have DM'd Suyu unless they met the DM conditions set by him. This caused many survivors to be dissatisfied with Suyu. After all, it was normal for humans to be jealous. It was also because of this that Suyu rarely spoke in the communication channel. He only did so when he needed to purchase some things. In any case, Suyu did not care about what the other survivors thought of him. After all, in this world, Suyu's priority was to survive, not to argue in the communication channel every day. At this moment, many survivors who were at the top of the regional prosperity points rankings were watching the messages in the communication channel with a cold gaze. Many people also sneered and laughed. A bunch of fools. At a time like this, they're still bringing the masses against the first rank on the regional rankings. If the first rank on the regional rankings had the authority to sanction ordinary survivors, it would be too late for this group of fools to cry out. As for Wang Teng, when he saw the name of the person who revealed the use of ordinary energy crystals, he wanted to stab him. This son of AB*TCH actually revealed the information so quickly. Chapter 29. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ordinary Water Repelling Pearl Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios, that's right. Wang Ting knew this fellow who publicly announced the information on how to use ordinary energy crystals. This fellow knew the use of ordinary energy crystals because he used resources to exchange for them with Wang Teng. Originally, as time passed, more and more survivors would gradually learn about the use of ordinary energy crystals. However, he didn't expect someone to publicize the use of this item. Wasn't this raising the price of goods? How could he take advantage of the information now? One had to know that the survivors who exchanged ordinary energy crystals with him usually had a tacit understanding. They didn't announce the use of ordinary energy crystals because they had spent resources to buy them. Naturally, they also wanted to use this information to get some resources. He glanced at the guy who was being praised by many survivors in the communication channel. Although he wanted to beat this guy up, he couldn't do anything to him. Hence, he could only leave the communication channel. At this moment, on another small island, Li Jian, who had learned the use of ordinary energy crystals from Wang Tang and made it public, looked at DM requests from many survivors on the screen in front of him. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, as if a fish had taken the bait. It turned out that the reason why Li Jian chose to announce the use of ordinary energy crystals was entirely to prepare for his next scam. This was because Li Jian knew very well that more and more people would know about the use of ordinary energy crystals as time passed. Therefore, before the use of this item was widely known, Li Jian chose to strike first and establish a persona for himself in the communication channel. As for how many unlucky people would fall for this guy's trap, it was unknown. At the same time, Suyu caught a slightly special item. Ordinary Water Repelling Pearl. Description. When you put on the Water Repelling Pearl, you can repel water for 2 hours underwater. Maximum diving depth is 50 meters. When the energy of the Water Repelling Pearl is exhausted, place it under the sun to be charged. It can recover 10% of energy per hour. As he played with the Water Repelling Pearl in his hand, Suyu couldn't help but have an idea. Should he send a goblin into the water to check out the situation underwater? After giving it some thought, Suyu suppressed the thought in his heart. After all, there were sea monkeys under the sea. If he rashly sent a goblin down, it might only mean sending an extra meal to the other party. Moreover, it was nighttime now, and he could not see anything under the water. If he wanted to send a goblin down, he would have to wait until tomorrow morning. Then, Suyu casually put one of the water-repelling pearls around his neck. As for the other one, Suyu casually put it in his pocket. Master, there is movement from the fishing net. At this moment, Suyu, who was about to continue fishing, suddenly heard the goblins shout. Upon hearing this, Suyu quickly walked toward the goblin. 3. Ordinary wooden treasure chests and 7. Ordinary wooden treasure chests have been captured in this fishing net. You are recommended to pull the net as soon as possible to prevent the treasure chest from escaping. The treasure chests contain the following items. 1 glass steel, 1 simple fishing net, 20 milliliters of physique potion, 200 rounds of Type 59 pistol bullets, plus 1 island area fragment, 1 bottle of ordinary loyalty potion, 1 bottle of diesel generator, 1 box of beef steak, 1 box of Mao Tai 1, and 2 large tents. When Suyu walked quickly to the side of the 2 goblins, he discovered that the simple fishing nets guarded by the 2 goblins had already captured 10 treasure chests. Pull up the fishing net. Suyu instructed the goblins at the side after glancing at the items in the treasure chest in the fishing net. Upon hearing their master's order, the goblins naturally began to pull up the fishing net with all their might. In the short time in which he casted the net to the time he retracted it, Suyu had obtained at least 6 to 7 wooden treasure chests. One could imagine how rich Suyu was. While other ordinary survivors were still nibbling on bread and drinking cold water, Suyu had already specially used the small wooden house to store treasure chests. It was ridiculous. If other ordinary survivors obtained a simple fishing net and had more ordinary bait, their accumulation of resources would still be far slower than Suyu's. This was because Suyu could accurately cast the net every single time. This was something that other survivors could not do at all. Perhaps ordinary survivors would be lucky if they could obtain even one treasure chest with a simple fishing net every time they casted it. Suyu, on the other hand, could obtain a ordinary wooden treasure chest at the very least. With the support of the double happiness skill, his harvest was very impressive. Soon, the simple fishing net in the water was pulled ashore by the few goblins. After taking a look at the treasure chest in the fishing net, Suyu went forward and picked out the treasure chests that contained the +1 island fragment, the 20 milliliters of physique potion, the simple fishing net, and the treasure chest that contained the loyalty medicine. As for the remaining treasure chests, Suyu asked the goblins to move them back to the small wooden house to store. Ordinary loyalty potion. Description. When low-level slaves drink this potion, it can increase loyalty by 30 points. It is recommended to be given to slaves with a loyalty point of 70 as it will guarantee loyalty to death. This is good stuff. After glancing at the effects of the ordinary loyalty potion, Suyu felt that Wang Ting's servant could be exchanged. However, he had rejected Wang Ting before, so Suyu naturally wouldn't contact Wang Ting directly. At this moment, Suyu only had a whimsical thought of wanting to trade for the other party's slave. It was not like he absolutely had to have Wang Ting's slave. After all, to Suyu, there did not seem to be much use of having another low-level slaves. After putting this thought aside, Suyu first used the 2+1 island fragments that he had obtained from the treasure chest. Then, he pulled out the stopper of 2 bottles of 20 milliliters of physique stats potion and drank them all. It was unknown if it was because Suyu's body had been overstimulated by the medicine or something else, but at this moment, Suyu felt that the numbing feeling was very weak. Moreover, the duration of the effect was only about 5 minutes this time. If he hadn't seen the change of his physique stats on his personal interface and felt that his physique had strengthened to a certain extent, Suyu would have thought that he had drunk a fake medicine. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's try to increase all our basic attributes to 5 points. Suyu, who was quite close to reaching 5 points of basic stats, excitedly carried a simple fishing net and began to circle around the edge of the island. There are many treasure chests in this part of the sea. You are not recommended to cast the net. There are many treasure chests in this part of the sea. You are not recommended to cast the net. There are mostly 0-star damaged treasure chests in this part of the sea. You are not recommended to cast a net here. Chapter 30. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lack of treasure chests, no respawn. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios, I. Suyu had changed a dozen spots in a row, but he still couldn't find a suitable place to cast his net. He couldn't help but wonder if he had caught too many treasure chests around his island that they didn't have any time to respawn yet. F***ck, forget it. I'll rest for a while and take a look later. After walking around for a while, Suyu still couldn't find the fishing spot or the fishing spot. He could only sit on the massage chair gloomily. After casually lighting a cigarette, Suyu began to smoke. At this moment, Suyu could only smoke as there were no other entertainment activities. Feeling a little bored, he prepared to log into the communication channel again. However, when he entered the communication channel and flipped through the chat records, Suyu's expression became a little strange. Suyu really did not expect that these people would be bashing him on the communication channel. Suyu didn't care about this at all. They could bash him all they like. It wasn't like he could lose a piece of flesh over this. Anyway, it was fine as long as he lived comfortably. After all, these people could not even begin to imagine how comfortably he was living. Suyu also couldn't care less about those who sneered at him for not sharing the function of the ordinary energy crystal even when he clearly knew it. Even saints could not be selfless, let alone Suyu, who thought that he was just a commoner. At this moment, in the communication channel that Suyu was paying attention to, there were still many night owls who could not sleep. I feel that the big shots are busy fishing and collecting supplies every day. Only us, who don't have much, are using up all 10 messages to communicate every day. Be more confident and get rid of your feelings. How many times have you seen messages from the big shots in the top 10 of the rankings? Look at the first on the rankings. He would only post purchase notices every time. He can't be bothered to say anything else. Sigh, this is the second day I envy the big shot. This is the second day of missing my girlfriend. Bro, I have an inflatable one. Why don't you buy it and make do with it? Get lost, keep it for yourself. Hiss, it's so cold. Even the tent is useless. After looking at the information in the communication channel, Suyu thought for a moment and composed a message. After all, Suyu had not used up his message quota for today. Suyu glanced at the items in the trading channel. There was basically nothing good that was worth trading with. Purchasing strength, physique, spirit stats potion, as well as island fragments. Items in exchange will be posted on the top trading channel. F***ck, the big shot on the rankings has appeared. Big shot, you're awesome. Can you give me something to eat? I'm starving. Brother rank 1, do you want to see the black silk? Let's DM. Could the stats potion be something that can increase stats? Based on my 10 years of experience in gaming, it's definitely something used to increase stats. Hiss, we're still working hard for food. Has the big shot already reached this level? As soon as Suyu spoke in the communication channel, the S exploded. In fact, in the region where Suyu was, many survivors had a polarized view of Suyu. Some of them were constantly defaming Suyu, some supported Suyu, while others remained neutral. At this moment, Suyu was composing a trade offer to be posted on the trading channel. Items to trade. 8 kilograms of rice or 4 kilograms of meat plus 1 pack of furong wong plus 3 steaks. Items in exchange. Strength stats potion 0/4, physique stats potion 0/2, spirit stats potion 0/3, plus 1 island area fragment. Note: each bottle of potion or plus 1 island area fragment can be exchanged for all the items in brackets. As it had just rained heavily today, many survivors definitely did not lack fresh water. Therefore, Suyu modified the items in exchange for the island fragment. In any case, the food and resources obtained from a treasure chest was very abundant. In addition, Suyu also had the double happiness skill. No matter what, Suyu had nothing to lose. It could be considered helping him to sort out all the treasure chests that were piled up in the small wooden house. After all, if the other survivors had an stats potion or a +1 island fragment, they must have obtained it from a treasure chest. Therefore, if the price was low, no fool would trade it. Moreover, some basic information had already been popularized in the communication channel. It was obviously impossible to buy the items from the treasure chests at a low price. After composing the trade offer, Suyut directly chose to pin the offer at the top. F***CK, the top of the rankings has posted a trade offer. F***CK, why don't I have any of these items? Otherwise, even if I don't catch anything, I could still do trading and last for a few days. The big shot is so rich. He actually used so many resources to exchange items. The second day of wanting to eat meat. TSK, he has so much food and yet he doesn't even think of sharing some with us. This person is really cold-blooded. He doesn't have any humanity at all. He's too petty. If I had so much food, I would definitely give it to everyone for free. Let me tell you a joke. If you had 1 million, 10 million, or 100 million yuan, would you be willing to donate it? Someone readily replied that he was willing. Even if he had 1 billion yuan, he would be willing to donate it. However, such a generous person was asked if he had a car, would he be willing to donate it? This person looked back at his car and softly said that he was unwilling, because he really had a car. Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. There's actually someone who wants to use this method to guilt-trip the top boss of the rankings. I'm afraid this guy is still living in a peaceful world. Does he think that he can smear others' reputation by relying on the keyboard? Suyu naturally saw these messages in the communication channel. Then, Suyu directly posted another message and pinned it at the top. If you want to buy it quickly. I won't be trading after today's trading opportunity is used up. Noel.n, F***CK, I was too focused on talking. I happened to catch a treasure chest today and opened a +1 island fragment. The price that the first-ranked big shot has said is great. Charge. Do your best. In the eyes of some survivors who were in the communication channel, the price that Suyu had listed was not low. This was because not all survivors had enough food even though they had the fragments of the +1 island. Therefore, not long after Suyu posted his trade offer, he heard the notification of a successful transaction. Ding! Your item has been successfully traded. Please extract the item +1 island area fragment. After the notification sounded, 8 kilograms of rice, 1 pack of Furon Wang, and 3 steaks disappeared from Suyu's supplies.